Eala, wherever she plays, the crowds are huge. So I can't wait to see what it's going to be like in her opening match at Wimbledon this year.
July 1st, 2025, Court 14 at the All England Club. A 20-year-old Filipino wildcard named Alexandra Eala wins the first set against Barbara Krejcikova, a former Wimbledon champion.
Alex Eala, she's come through and she's beaten Rybakina, she's beaten Svitolina, she's beaten Donna Vekic, the Queen's Club champion. I tell you what, that was some week for Eala. It was almost...
And then loses the next two by scores of 6-2 and 6-1. She walks off the grass that day ranked outside the top 50, one of 128 women in the draw, and not one of them seeded with her name. June 22nd, 2026, almost a year to the day. The WTA releases its weekly singles rankings using results through Sunday night.
Alex, you just beat the world number 2.
Alex Eala has moved from number 35 to number 30 in the world. And because Wimbledon uses that exact Monday ranking as its seeding cutoff, and because Wimbledon seeds the top 32, the same Filipino player who lost on an outer court 12 months ago is now, for the first time in the history of her country, a seeded entrant at a Grand Slam.
Young girl from a smaller city can compete against the best in the world.
Same building, same favorite tournament, different door. To understand how she walked through that door, you have to start with the part of the story that looks, on the surface, like the opposite of a milestone. 2 days before the seed was confirmed, Eala lost a tennis match. She lost the Berlin Open semifinal to Linda Noskova, 6-2, 6-4 on June 20th. That defeat is the reason this video exists. Wimbledon does not hand out seeds at Wimbledon. Seeds are the byproduct of a year of WTA ranking points compiled across surfaces, across continents, across wins and losses, and the seeding line is drawn on the Monday before the tournament. Eala finished Berlin with 125 net points added to her ledger, reaching 1,557 career points, sitting at world number 30. The provisional draw, released that same Monday, lists her as the 29th seed, bumped up one slot after Canada's Victoria Mboko withdrew with a left knee injury. The official Wimbledon draw arrives the weekend of June 27th and 28th. The tournament itself runs June 29th through July 12th. Now sit with the structural strangeness of that for a moment, because if you grew up watching tennis in the Philippines or anywhere else where the sport is not the dominant national pastime, you are conditioned to read defeat a certain way. You are conditioned to read it as the end of a sentence. Eala lost to Noskova in Berlin. That was her second straight loss to Noskova in 2026, and the first was a 6-2, 6-love beating at Indian Wells back in March. And before this month, according to Phil Starr's reporting, Eala carried an 0-13 lifetime record against Czech players. 13 losses, no wins. That is the kind of stat that hardens into a narrative, that becomes a thing commentators reach for during changeovers. So when she walked off the Berlin court on Friday, June 20th, the most recent emotional data point in her career was, technically, another loss to a Czech player. The headline could easily have been written about a ceiling, about a player who beats top tens in early rounds and then meets a wall in the semifinals. That is not the headline that ran on Monday. The headline that ran on Monday was that she had become the first Filipino player ever seeded at a Grand Slam main singles draw. Both things are true at once. The loss and the milestone arrived in the same press cycle, and the script you are sitting inside of is the work of untangling how they are not contradictions, how, in fact, the first thing produced the second. Let's walk the evidence. On Monday, June 22nd, Eala rose 5 spots in the WTA rankings from 35 to 30. She gained 125 net points. The Wimbledon seed cutoff is the top 32. She cleared it by 2 slots. And the players she leapfrogged in a single week tell you how thin the line is between seeded and unseeded at a slam. Hailey Baptiste of the United States at 31, Emma Raducanu of Great Britain at 32, Donna Vekic of Croatia at 33, Katerina Siniakova of the Czech Republic at 34. Emma Raducanu, a U.S. Open champion, is now sitting 1 rung below Eala on the ladder. That is the margin we are talking about. One good week against the right opponents on the right surface, and the entire architecture of your summer changes. The points did not come from Wimbledon. They came from a surface that, by every reasonable expectation, should not be Eala's surface. She is a product of the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, an institution built on clay and hard courts. Grass, historically, has been the foreign language of academy graduates raised on slow surfaces, and yet her 2026 grass court record stands at 9-2. That run was headlined by her second career WTA 125 title at Birmingham on June 7th, a three-set win over Nikola Bartunkova, 5-7, 6-3, 7-5. According to Philstar, that title broke a reported 0-13 streak against Czech opponents, a single-source stat, so treat it as reported rather than gospel. But the symbolic weight of it is undeniable. Her first career title on grass, against the surface narrative, against the head-to-head pattern. Then came Berlin, and Berlin is where the seed was actually built. Eala entered the Berlin Open as a wild card, a tournament debutante at a WTA 500 event. In the round of 32, she beat Donna Vekic, one of the four players she would eventually leapfrog in the rankings. In the round of 16, she beat Elena Rybakina, the world number 2, 7-5, 6-4. In the quarterfinal, she beat Elina Svitolina, the world number 8, 6-3, 6-4. 2 top 10 wins in consecutive matches at a WTA 500 event. The WTA's own match recap described it as her first ever WTA 500 semifinal. ESPN called the run remarkable and noted she had claimed another huge upset with the Svitolina win. Pause there for a second, because this is the part of the story that gets lost when the headline reduces everything to first Filipino seed. The seed is not a gift. The seed is what you get when, inside 1 week on a surface that was supposed to be your weakness, you beat the 2nd and the 8th ranked players in the world back-to-back. That is what 125 points looks like in the body of work. That is the arithmetic underneath the milestone. And then she lost. And losing is what finished the job. The Berlin semifinal against Linda Noskova ended 6-2, 6-4. Noskova is 21 years old, ranked 13th in the world, and a serious player in her own right. This is not the story of an antagonist denying Eala anything. This is the story of two of the best young players in the world meeting in a semifinal on grass, and one of them advancing. But here is the inversion. Here is the climax this entire script has been building toward. The points Eala earned by reaching that semifinal, the points she would not have had if she had lost earlier, were the exact points that vaulted her past Baptiste, Raducanu, Vekic, and Siniakova on Monday morning. She did not get seeded despite the loss to Noskova. She got seeded through it. The defeat is not the counter-evidence to the milestone. The defeat is the mechanism of the milestone. The match she did not win is the match that put her on the seed line. That is the kind of sentence Filipino sports fans rarely get to write about Filipino athletes in individual global sports, and it deserves to be said slowly. The loss bought the room. Which is why what happens this week before Wimbledon even starts matters. Eala is currently in the draw at the Bad Homburg Open in Germany. Her first-round singles match was scheduled against Elise Mertens, a top 25 opponent, on Monday night, June 22nd, and on Tuesday, June 23rd, she plays first-round doubles. Her partner is Venus Williams, a 21-year-old seeded slam debutante warming up alongside a 46-year-old 7-time slam champion on the same week the seeding line was announced. If you wanted a single image for what this moment is, generational continuity made physical, the past and the future of women's tennis on the same side of the same net, there it is. The authority on this story is not coming from a single quote, because no published reporting has surfaced a direct Eala quote about the seeding moment itself. That absence matters, and the responsible thing is to acknowledge it rather than fill it with invented words. What does exist on the record is the framing from the institutions that cover her. The WTA's own editorial language flagged the Berlin run as her first WTA 500 semifinal and treated the Svitolina win as a genuine arrival point. ESPN's Berlin coverage on June 19th called the run remarkable and used the word upset for the Svitolina match, a meaningful word because at a certain point in a player's trajectory, beating the 8th-ranked player in the world stops being an upset and starts being a result. Eala is in the transitional layer where the sport itself has not yet decided which word applies, and Rappler, in its June 22nd coverage, framed the moment by writing that Eala has come a long way from only dreaming of playing in the Wimbledon main draw to earning a coveted seed in her favorite Grand Slam. That is Rappler's framing, not a direct Eala quote, and it should be attributed that way, but it captures something the numbers alone cannot. In Philippine sports press, Philstar, Rappler, GMA, Business World, Inquirer, ABS-CBN, the coverage on June 22nd was wall-to-wall. On Filipino tennis Facebook groups on r/Philippines, the word being used by kababayan, by countrymen and countrywomen, was historic. They are not wrong to use it. To understand why, you have to understand the format. The 32-seed structure at Grand Slams has existed since 2001. That is 25 years, 4 slams per year, 100 Grand Slam main draws in the era of expanded seeding. In all of that, across every player the Philippines has ever produced in the Open era, no Filipino has been seeded at a senior slam main draw, not one, until this week. The comparable that travels best is Sania Mirza of India, who peaked at world number 27 in singles in 2007 and remains the standard bearer for women's tennis from emerging tennis markets. Eala, at 21 years old, sitting at number 30, is now in roughly the same neighborhood Mirza occupied at her peak, and Eala has the calendar runway Mirza did not. None of that is to crown her or to claim a record beyond what is sourced. It is to say, plainly, that the Philippines has never had a player on this rung of the ladder before, and the rung itself is one of the most exclusive in the sport. 32 names, that's it, per slam, 4 times a year. And 1 year ago, almost exactly, she was not on it. July 1st, 2025, Court 14, the Krejcikova match 3-6, 6-2, 6-1. A Wimbledon debut that ended in the first round against a former champion of the tournament in front of a few hundred people on an outer court. Eala arrived that summer unseeded, ranked outside the top 50, one of 128. She did not have a bye. She did not have a number next to her name on the draw sheet. She had a wild card and a first-round assignment and a loss in 3 sets. There is no publicly verified Eala quote responding to that 2025 loss, and that absence is fine because the facts are louder than any quote would be. 1 year, same building, a seed, a bye, a different door. So picture the room she walks into on Monday, June 29th. The player lounge at the All England Club, the official draw board on the wall, the names along the seed line, Arena Sabalenka at number 1, Coco Gauff, Iga Swiatek, Elena Rybakina, the same Elena Rybakina Eala, beat 10 days earlier in Berlin. 32 names drawn from every tennis-producing nation on Earth. And on that list, for the first time in the history of a country of 110 million people, the name Eala projected at the 29th seed in the provisional draw. The official draw lands the weekend of June 27th and 28th, so the precise number could shift by a slot. The seed line will not. She is on it. She is one of the 32. That is the room. Not bigger than that, not smaller. That is the company she keeps now, as of this week, as of June 22nd, 2026. The Wimbledon draw is released the weekend of June 27th and 28th. That's when we'll know her first match, her quarter of the draw, the seeded names she could meet in the second week. If you want that breakdown the moment it drops, subscribe, because the next video on this channel will be the full draw analysis. Same building, different door, same player, different seat in the room.